Hey guys, what is up? It is me, Pagey, here once again with another video on the Flash show and I guess Grant Gustin, and also some other DCTV news as well. So we know when the Flash came to an end after 9 seasons that it was actually Grant Gustin that was the one that made this choice. Warner Brothers and the CWs were not the ones to push it. They sort of wanted to keep going because it made them money. It was Grant. With this not being that strange of a thing as a show's main star, not wanting to move on, or actually wanting to move on, or just needing a longer break than they usually get whilst doing the show, sort of being a reason a lot of the time that the show does come to an end. It happened with Arrow with Stephen Amell, it happened with Melissa Benoist with Supergirl. Either it's the break side, I want to do something different. It's usually the actor that makes that choice, and the studio and the network usually wants the show to keep going on for more seasons because, as I said, it makes the money. And in regards to Grant's thing, I don't think it was the wrong decision. Some do, which is fair enough. A lot of people really wanted to get to 10 seasons. But 9 seasons to me felt like the perfect time as it got to be the longest running Arrowverse show and also give a wrap up to the show that season 8 just wouldn't have been able to do. But since the show was announced to be coming to an end, we had really just heard Grant Gustin say that he felt it was the right time for him and the show to end. There was never really any other side to this or opening up on anything more outside of that. Well, now we can say that has changed because Grant decided to, he's decided to open up. So I will be going over that first in this video, followed by some other minor DC TV news from the past, week or so roughly, that some of you might be interested in. So during a panel at Phoenix Fan Fusion, that was what the convention was called recently, Grant Gustin did open up and give a reasoning as to why he wanted to end the show after 9 seasons, which, as I said before, he was sort of vague on previously. With Grant sharing it was very overwhelming to be a 23-year-old that was leading that type of show. He tried not to think about it to keep the anxiety in check. As he grew older, he realized with age, his world kept changing and knew it was time to wrap the show. When he thought of all the bedtimes he was missing for his daughter, he didn't want to ever do the show at less than 100%, so it was time. Now in regards to that anxiety thing, a lot of people have noticed that since the show has ended, Grant's been doing a lot of conventions, and he had sort of said this, I think it was during season 4, I think it was, or maybe season 3, that he hadn't really done the conventions because he felt really overwhelmed doing them, because he knew he was doing the show and there's a lot of stress doing the show because, as I said, he was a bit overwhelmed with having to lead that type of show and it was extremely popular. And then just doing the conventions was just stacking that on top of it. So he felt a bit waned off from doing it. So he didn't really do them. I think he did 2 throughout the entire run of the show. And he's done more since the show ended than he ever did during the show. I think he's up to 3 now at this point in time. So he's catching up on that missed time with fans. And in regards to him not wanting to give less than 100%, I think that makes sense. You don't want, a show getting, longer and longer and you feel like the person's phoning it in. I always saw people say that with Grant. I never really felt that. I mean, I always felt that if he had to give in a really great performance, he did that. Other times it was just being Barry, him just standing there and just talking normally isn't him phoning it in. That's just him being Barry. So I never really vibed with or aligned myself with people that said he never gave 100%. Some other actors on the show, maybe, but with Grant, I always felt like he tried his best. And maybe he was trying his best and you didn't like it. I'm not too sure. But for me, he was always giving his 100%, which all you can do is appreciate. Now, of course, the door is always going to be, potentially open for Grant to don the red suit of the Flash again, possibly in the future, in some sort of or some form of multiverse cameo or role in a future DC film or TV project. And Grant has stated that he would 100% be open to that. He didn't stop the show because he didn't like being the Flash anymore. He loved being the Flash. He's still the Flash for many, many people, and he'll still continue to be the Flash when people discover the show on Netflix and stuff like that. But this was the right time for the particular show, or this particular show, and this chapter to end. So it will be interesting to see if we ever see Grant again as the Flash in whatever circumstance that would be, though it feels like we could, if not will, be waiting quite a while for that if it ever is going to happen. But it will be interesting to see. It's not like it's one of those situations that with Smallville had, if anyone remembers with Smallville, where pretty much all the actors on Smallville just sort of shunned the show for a couple of years after they in their careers after the show ended. They just didn't talk about it, they ignored it, but now they are embracing it. You see Tom Welling and Michael Rosenbaum, who just love talking about the show now because they realize that it was this big thing and it was always going to be the biggest thing that they did, which isn't a negative thing. It's a positive thing. You had this massive show, and I think Grant realizes that now as well, and he's able to indulge in that. That's probably the best word to use. He's able to indulge in how big the show was and the Arrowverse as a whole and stuff like that, which people like Stephen Amell and stuff have been able to do for years. So It's now Grant's time to do that. But yeah, let me know in the comments in regards to that Grant stuff. Like, do you think we could see anything with him going forward? Is the Flash again? And also, I know some people have met him at some of these conventions. I've seen some of the photos that you guys have sent through Instagram and Twitter, which has been pretty cool. So some of you got to meet him, and he said he was a really nice guy and everything like that. So yeah, if you're one of those people, let me know. But in regards to some other DC TV news, so this goes into the Superman and Lois side. So Superman and Lois is just in this constant bubble area. We don't know what's happening with the show. Is it getting cancelled? Is it getting renewed? Is it moving to HBO Max, or I guess Max now for season 4, potentially a 4th and final season? What's going on? There has been really no developments there, outside of like a couple of different comments from like the CEO of the CW, who didn't really give any faith that the CW will be keeping it. But outside of any like major production stuff and what's going on with the actors and stuff, nothing's really been revealed. Now, that changed over the past week because we did see that the downtown Smallville set, which obviously, you know, they used as downtown Smallville on Superman and Lois, that's still standing. That is still up and everything like that. It hasn't been knocked down. So they're still using that area, or at least no one's moved into that area. You haven't had this other show come in there and building their own set and everything like that. So that's somewhat of a good sign. But all the news that came out from the end of season 3 heading into season 4 is that the lease on this downtown Smallville set had ended and there was no plans to renew it. Now, this went in hand with the Kent farm. Now, I think there were two separate issues. I don't think the Kent farm was contract. I think it was just money. The people that own the farm just want more money, like quite an increase to the point where it's not even worth using it. But the fact that downtown Smallville thing is still standing is pretty interesting, though they can knock these things down in a day. So it's like Rome can be built in a day, or Rome wasn't built in a day. Well, the downtown Smallville set can be knocked down in a day. So it's still being there and still up and running isn't too much of a big thing to base everything off, but it is still interesting at the same time because, if it does get renewed or something like that, they might use it, or they might be able to use it for like a week or something if they don't renew the lease. But all the news is that even if the show was renewed or anything like that, they weren't going to renew the lease because I think it was just going to cost too much for just to use that area. So yeah, that's a wait and see, but it is a bit of an interesting thing that it is still standing. But it seems that it would be weird, might I say, because I think the Kent farm's not going to be able to be used anyway. So I think, like, my prediction is that if season 4 happens, we move out of Smallville just because of those issues there, which just happens on other shows previously, whether it's like they have to move where they film the show, so then a certain set gets taken away or a certain area has to change or whatever it might be. That happens. That's happened all the time on TV. So it wouldn't be like this unique thing for Superman and Lois having to like change its setting because they can't use certain areas or certain structures and everything like that. But it is a wait and see. The fact that it's still standing is interesting, but we'll probably find out, fairly soon. And that sort of links into the next thing we're going to talk about, the last thing in this video, and that's just the CW. It's acquiring / renewing a lot of random ass shows, like ones that like, what the hell? Like there's a like Jesus story that has like 3 seasons to it, and they bought all the seasons. They're going to air all the seasons back to back, leading up to Christmas, I think it is. It's a bit odd. Some of the funniest things I saw was like, is this an Arrowverse spinoff? It's just Jesus. I know, pretty funny. But anyway, but along with this and all these like acquiring of random shows or renewing shows that they did acquire and giving them another season or buying another season, whatever it might be, there's still no update on Superman and Lois or Gotham Knights. And it's not like there's like, it's just there's a negative update. There's just no updates at all. Now, the rumor with this, and obviously stressing, it's a rumor, so keep that in mind. But the rumor is that we might be waiting until the shows end, their respective seasons, to get an answer, because the CW is trying to keep people watching and not take any potential viewers away by cancelling a show before the season ends, which I think is somewhat understandable by the CW, but also a bit annoying because you're hanging, you're leaving people to hang on and just hope that, them supporting is going to get another season, when in reality it's maybe just to get a bit more money from advertisers and stuff like that. Now, I don't know what's specifically going to happen. My prediction for some reason is that I have a feeling Gotham Knights might get renewed and Superman and Lois is either going to get cancelled or moved to HBO Max. I think that's the best possible situation I think that we're going to get. I don't see a situation where the CW renews Superman and Lois. I just do not see it. When you look at how much the show costs to make, even if they remove certain elements, I think even if they even half the budget of what an episode costs to make, the CW still wouldn't renew it. Gotham Knights is already on the cheaper end. They'd probably still want to make some cuts there to make Gotham Knights cheaper to make. So that's why I could see them renewing Gotham Knights if it's still getting decent enough ratings. And I think it's not getting terrible, I think it's definitely outperforming all the acquired shows they're getting. So there is the potential where Gotham Knights could be like a top 3 performing show next season, if it does get renewed and Superman and Lois doesn't stick around. But that's what I see happening. I see Superman and Lois, and this is best possible situation, by the way, is Superman and Lois moving to HBO Max or Max, whichever way you want to call it now, and Gotham Knights getting renewed on the CW. To be honest, I don't really care about Gotham Knights too much. I'm not saying it deserves to be cancelled. I'm just not watching it, so that I have no money in the situation. I have no real care there. My main focus is on Superman and Lois. So it will be interesting to see what happens there. If Superman and Lois does go to Max, there could be like a year and a half break from the show just because of like the filming schedule and depending on what Max wants to do with the show, where it airs and stuff like that. So it could be like the silver lining. Like, yes, we had another season, but we might be waiting a long time until season 4 happens. So it would be really weird if the CW cancels Superman and Lois and it doesn't get picked up elsewhere. I think it'd be a massive loss, and I think it'd raise some eyebrows that a show like that can get cancelled. But it's a wait and see. Fingers crossed for the good news, and just, I guess, support the final 2 episodes when they do air over the next month or so. But yeah, guys, thanks for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, it'd be awesome. You could drop a like on it to show support. Let me know in the comment section down below your various thoughts on everything going on in this video. Always curious to read what you guys are thinking. And of course, if you are new to the channel, make sure to subscribe, and I'll catch you guys later. Goodbye.